Hello, everyone. Good morning to everyone in the USA, where my guest is at the moment. And in Cambodia, it's just after 9 p.m. In South Africa, it's the afternoon going into the evening. Welcome to the show. It's Shamilia Ramjawan, your host on the Red Corner Show. My guest today is not a person that is really, what can I say, Rosalyn? Unknown to people, unknown to the world. Let's use the right word, unknown to the world. A very popular, famous person on the show today, Rosalyn Kahn, who is a TEDx speaker. She's also a coach. She coaches people on TEDx talks. She's an educator, a published author, an Amazon best-selling author, and she has multiple accolades and awards. So we're going to get right into the conversation today and welcome Rosalyn Kahn to the show. How are you doing, Rosalyn? You know, the last time we'd spoken, it was about 3 years ago, and you were on the show.
Oh, yes, I remember it very kindly. I was so honored and privileged to be on your show with all your accolades and all the things that you've done, Miss Princess, and everything else that you have done in your own company, entrepreneur. It's an honor to be back on your show to just catch up on where we've been.
Yes, I'm actually eagerly waiting to hear the developments on your side because you're always doing different things, never a boring life, trying new things, going back to old things as well. So I want to hear all about it. So I know that recently you've engaged in something else after being with students for over 20 years and going back to kindergarten. But before we go there, maybe tell the audience a little bit about who Rosalyn is.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, they don't call me shy in any way, shape, or form. I'm one of 7 kids. I was born and raised in San Diego, California. I went to college in Santa Barbara, and I graduated in 3 years, and I had a really special experience upon graduating. I was accepted into this group called Up With People that I've been with many, many years. They're just having another reunion that's coming up. I went to their 38th reunion that was over in Ireland, and that was really exciting. That was a few years back. And it was so wonderful traveling there. I had done some traveling on my own to Dublin, met a wonderful chap in the library, and he was the world's person who worked with trees and things like that. It was amazing. Just really an exciting experience. I also went to the Phoenix Park in Ireland, and oh, that was so beautiful. It was lovely. And shortly thereafter, I had the opportunity to travel to Egypt to interview a diplomat and travel along the ancient cities. And I had just posted a picture recently of me with my little Egyptian scarf and that on the streets of Egypt, and the jewelry stores and the pharaohs and the monuments and Hurghada and so many different memories. I've been part of a TV show called Living Your Best Life. I've interviewed a diplomat here in the United States who represents the country of, let's see, he is from Thailand. I think it's Thailand. Thailand.
Oh, that's my neighbor.
No, not Thailand. Sri Lanka.
Sri
I
Lanka,
had
okay.
dinner. I had dinner with the Sri Lankan diplomat at his home. That
Wow.
was absolutely exquisite. I've interviewed, I don't think I had my TV show back then. So I've interviewed, I don't know, 60, 80, over 100 people. Just really fascinating, been on sports TVs and sports things with the Clippers, the Lakers. There's a young little girl named Kyra Persebre that I believe you know, the young singer. I visited her in her homeland in Hawaii. She's been here. She's going to be back. She's going to be performing in front of the Lakers.
Can I get it on
And
my show?
well, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'll put a word in with the boss lady and
Awesome. Thank
see what
you.
she has to say. I've helped her out in so many different ways. I don't know if you notice any difference. I've got a new look. I've been trying this new Korean skincare product that just makes me look so glamorous.
Oh, you're looking stunning. I looked at your photos. I've been in and out of social media as well with my studies, and I looked at your profile today, and yes, some stunning pictures. And I said, "Is this Rosalyn? I haven't seen you in 3 years."
Well, it's just amazing, and that's just a short little update, under a minute, I
It.
think.
I love it. I love it. I love it when people take care of themselves, and it's just the look good, feel good kind of mood and mode that you get into. So yeah, it's amazing. Well done.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, you're doing some good stuff there. I'm so proud of your company. I know you come from great prodigy and great family that's brought you up to this greatness. So, are you finished with your school now?
Not yet. I have until June. So it's taken a while. It was because of COVID that set me back a little bit. But yes, I'm submitting my thesis for examination by June.
And what's your thesis on?
It's actually very close to my heart. So it's menstrual hygiene management on adolescents with cognitive or intellectual disabilities. So it's very specialized PhD.
No, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Well, I know that you'll do extremely well. If I can help you out in any way, keep your eyes on the prize. You'll get there. And sometimes things happen and it's meant to be.
Yes, absolutely. There's a reason for the delay. I always say that. So I'm looking forward to finishing because it's been like a nightmare for almost 6 years.
Well, I had my niece finish her work with like special ed or a social worker, and she said that she didn't have one class that was person to person because the whole thing was entirely online. And you had to do your practicum, like pretend that you're this and pretend that you're that, and so on and so forth. So, you know,
Yes,
life
but,
offers
but
us these opportunities.
absolutely. And it's COVID that brought about all the new techniques of teaching because if you think about when I started my studies, it was before COVID. So I had a good, I think, 2 years of attending classes. So, all my study was done, my theory was done in the classroom. And then during COVID, we had to go online because of the COVID restrictions, etc. And then it was just on your own doing your dissertation, and that is a very very lonely journey, I must add. For everyone that's doing your PhD out there, good luck to you. At least I still
Definitely.
have hair on my head.
You still have hair on your head. That's good. That's good. It looks nice. Looks nice. And
Thank
you're wearing my
you.
favorite flowers and everything.
Thank you, Rosalyn. Thank you. You're the sweetest. But back to you, leave me out of this now. Let's talk about you, right? TEDx, I had my experience and I consulted with you after our chat on the Red Corner show, and I wanted some help and guidance on coaching for a TEDx talk that I was going to do. Take me through that journey of TEDx. How did you get involved and what prompted you to get involved? What's your involvement now?
Okay. So my involvement in TED, I was involved in an organization after college that was called the American Society of Training and Development. And in that platform, there was a gentleman that remained in contact with me. His name was Tom Lenzo, and he invited me to my first TED. And it's something that I'll never forget. Sitting there in the audience in Pasadena at a high school, looking up on the stage, and there was a gentleman who was handicapped, and I can't remember his name, but a friend of mine in another organization had that same exact speaker. And I go, I know that guy. That's the guy who, plays instruments, but doesn't have dexterity of his hands and uses his feet to go ahead and do that. There was a person who talked about the travels of boat family and the stress in the ocean and so on and so forth. And from that day, I said, I knew that I was going to be one of those people on that stage. And it's this premonitions in life that have taken me so many different places of making these decisions and setting my mind on what I wanted to do. And as I left the parking lot, the guy said to me, well, there's a meeting coming up on Saturday at so-and-so's house. Just show up and you could be part of the committee. And that began the journey. And so part of the activity is you've got to be willing to go out on a limb and do things you never would have done before. So I committed every Saturday for over a year to going to this person's house, to working with them. I was put on the organizational committee. And one of the things the gentleman had offered was, hey, there's going to be an opportunity to learn how to be a speaker on the stage or go meet the organizers. And I jumped on the opportunity, said, oh yeah, that'd be fun. Let's go down and meet the organizers. There was an opportunity to attend a big event that was in San Diego that has one of the biggest shows. And so I went to San Diego to see that and met some organizers and met a man who was going to be my mentor. And his name is John K. Bates. And he's really big in the TED world, and met some other people and was involved in kind of that family and that network. And so after that, there was an opportunity to learn there was a calling for speakers, and I went to that, and there was a classroom, and I said, I'm just here to learn. And a lady picked me up as a coach. I coached over 10 people through that lady. And one Friday night, driving back home in horrible traffic, I said, enough of this free stuff. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get on that TED stage. And so several weeks later, I went and gave a speech at a local storytelling. A person had seen my video and offered me the first one in Thousand Oaks, which I was just in recently for another event a few nights ago. And the rest is history. I gave that speech, and after one speech, a couple of years later, someone that I met as an organizer had invited me to give a speech with her group, and I was asking for a place to practice, and someone else said, well, would you like to give a speech in my place? And boom, 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 in a matter of a few years, there they were. And a Toastmaster group I'm in is looking to do another one. And just because you've been on a TED doesn't necessarily mean that you can get on it again. I've applied to some others, but haven't been selected. But it's they like to give new people a chance. And I've working with a lady who's been begging me to ask her to help her to get her on the stage. And so it's always a give and a take, ebb and a flow. And it's a wonderful experience, but it opens up many doors and many opportunities.
Yes, for sure. But my takeaway from what you said at the very beginning is how committed you were. And I think that is something that a lot of people need to understand, is that if you want to engage in something, you have to be committed, inspired, motivated, and it's just perseverance. So just, I think just a word of advice or just some advice to people out there. If you want to get onto a TEDx stage, what would be your best advice? Practice, right?
Well, practice. There's an organization called Toastmasters, and many people who've been part of the TED have that TEDx, the experience of being in Toastmasters, because in Toastmasters you get practice, you get advice, and things like that. It's be practice and be willing to change. Don't be stubborn if this is what I'm going to do. You've got to be open up to the possibility. It's not about you, it's about other people and how your message can reach out and help them.
Yes, yes. And you're the owner of your craft. So, go out there and just own that stage.
Yep, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's not about selling a product or selling something. It's about you giving a message that's going to help other people to live a better life in what they do and their surroundings and things like that.
Are you still coaching people for TEDx?
A little bit here, a little bit there. It's there's so many things in my world right now with the TV station and going out and doing things with the skincare program I'm working with. And then I do substitute teaching, which is, the source of income these days, and getting work where you can. And one day I'm with 12th graders, and the next day I'm with a group of kindergarten class. And you have the class from there, and the next day they're so much different. And so
Yes,
it's really exciting. And you should have seen me up there yesterday reading my story.
yes.
It was
I want, I want to know about the kindergarten. I think, I've been with students, I've been with adults, teaching them, coaching them. I've been with 12th graders. I want to know about the kindergarten because that's quite challenging, right? These are the people that we are shaping for the future. They're always curious, they want to be engaged, they're excited. How do you have the patience?
Same patience I have for art. These are, I never thought I'd do that again. And um, there are certain techniques and strategies that you learn, and sitting there and watching them with those young little faces, and granted, getting them in a line and lining up and so on and so forth, and this one's hitting me and that one's doing that. It's just, these are tomorrow's leaders, and we need
Yes,
to, teach them some lessons of how to do something. There was this one kind of unruly group of people I had at one school, and the quietest they were was doing this computer animated thing where they were in that. And I said to the lady who was an IP instructor who works with the special ed, it's like, I can't believe they're so quiet. And she says, you must be a tough disciplinarian, because I've never seen them as quiet as they are right now. And it's the hem and the ha, and you just you get on their level, you know. I'm
yes,
always teaching them bigger words of this, that, breaking it down into their level, making it an experience as they could have. There was, the cookie that felt like an outsider, and there was a young kid in there who was from Portugal who didn't understand any English. And, I overemphasized it, and you could see when he was following along and getting the story, even though he wasn't sure. And it's amazing, as when you're learning a different language, young kids are so easily able to pick it up because they're acquiring that own language. And that was fun to see, fun to participate in.
yes. I had a meeting with someone yesterday, and we were talking about the abilities of babies. So if you look at the unborn baby and you look at the newborn baby and you look at ages right up to 3 years old, that's the most receptive ages of babies and children. And she has a program where she actually engages with pregnant women, and she teaches them on how to actually instill good values in the babies while the baby is still in the womb. So basically, it's reading to the baby and acknowledging the baby and talking to the baby. And these are the things that we never learned 20, 30 years ago. But it's all to do with neuroscience and how you connect with your baby from an early age. So you're just giving them that early start, and you're enriching all these good values. So do you know about that?
Well, I do know that in the first years, they're the most formative years. I remember when one of my nieces was born, and she's now 23, 25, 26, I don't know. Um, that her mom would take her to all these different places, and we talk about the science and the biology about the dendrites, and it's the connections that you have and opening up
Yes.
those connections that you have. And so, like I say, on the language skills, if parents are talking, let's just say Chinese, Japanese, whatever language it is, when the kid is in the womb and when the baby goes ahead and comes out, and one is committed to be that Chinese or Spanish communicator, you can teach that kid the language. And when you talk about multilinguistics abilities, it's having the base of the first structure, which goes ahead and opens up the ability to acquire more languages. And so what I mean by that is the kid having the young boy having the experience of growing up in Portugal and learning that language. And up till about 8 years old, the possibilities are the greatest, and the opportunities to acquire and open those language abilities are great. But I've also worked with adults and senior citizens. And if there's a will, there's a way. They can learn it on the other end as well. I
Yes.
have some people in their seniors as 50 and 60s just breaking down the sounds. So it's fun
Maybe
stuff.
you should start teaching me, because I mean I cannot learn a new language. I'm finding it so difficult trying to learn Khmer in Cambodia. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Um, Rosalyn, just on your books, have you written any children's books? Do you have any plans to write any children's books?
Oh,
You
actually,
are an
that's kind
Amazon
of funny.
bestseller. Let's go through your books and your writing.
Sure. So my first book that I wrote was Random Acts of Kindness Are Changing the World. It was based on my students in the classroom, and it was the random acts of kindness that they had done. And it was really a beautiful story of things that had happened to my life, the goods and the bads and the uglies. And those are entwined in those stories of random acts of kindness, because when we go out and we do things for one another, we get this great feeling of good. So if you go to my Facebook, I have several posts recently where I talk about just doing random acts of people I've seen or stories I've heard. There was a story of a lady who was at a gas station. A guy came and asked her for a banana, and from there he got his wife and they decided to wash her car and they brought them back. And I thought, those are the stories we need to hear about, because I was on the face of Wuhan. We were talking about celebrating others' little victories. So, just because the book is over doesn't mean I forget what it's all about. The second book I wrote was Dogs and Roses. And it's a time in my life where I was really stressed out and depressed, and my dog was my buddy and my pal, and I always liked the beautiful look and the appearance of roses. One of the things I love to draw and paint in the whole 9 yards. And so I wrote this book, and it's so calming. It's funny, one of the classes I had, I was at for several days, and that's the book I took to share with the kindergarten class. And we asked how many pets they had, and we looked at the different pictures, and they said, "Oh, that looks like my dog, and that looks like my dog." And so I was able to share that book with the children. There's another one that's called A Message for Tomorrow's Leader, about the pandemic and the protest, where I interviewed about 60 people during the pandemic. So that was kind of my pandemic project, was coming up with that book. And
What was the response?
it was amazing. It was amazing. There were people who were talking about the Black Lives Matters and about standing up for what you believe, and
Was
why
um,
why
was
why
there
why the
anything?
government.
Yes, sorry. Was there anything there that mentions how COVID affected their lives in any way?
Well, it talked about how they were being taken out of their norm and place, and put in different possibilities, and how those possibilities went ahead and opened up. There were messages of staying true to your values, staying true to who you are, and using this as an opportunity to harness new skills and new abilities and new paths. And there was a suggestion to write an ending to it, looking at it coming back years later. And I've been circulating those ideas in my heads of what I'd write. And it was the uprising of the people, and people asserting their assert for power and recognition, and the disparity and the differences in the world. And so it was a really interesting book. And my most recent one is called The Captivating Speaker. It's on my specialty of public speaking. It's 25 tips on public speaking,
Oh,
everything
wow.
about, speaking on Zoom calls, where your eyes should be, the accentuation of the voice, the pause. And one of my friends, Cynthia Stott, always said, in this book, it's not your average public speaking book. You're going to get things that you'd never learn anywhere else, and you can't Google.
Right.
So,
Now, I'm going to stop you there, right? A lot of people have problems with trying to focus when you are looking at a computer screen on a Zoom call. So, can you just take us through that? Where do you look when you're on a
okay.
Zoom
So the
call?
one thing is, I want to show you something different. I'm looking at you right now. See my head? I'm looking at you.
Yes,
I'm looking at you. My head is looking at you. But
yes,
when you're on a Zoom call, you want to look at 12 o'clock. And when
yes.
you're looking at 12 o'clock, which is straight in front of you, you're
Mhm.
talking to the camera, and
Yes,
that's where the audience is. So you
yes.
always want to be looking at that camera like you're on candid camera.
Am
And
I doing it
that's when,
correctly? Have I been doing it correctly?
Yeah, because you're looking straight at the camera, which is what you're supposed to do to come across as most naturally, most authentic, and so forth.
Yes, but you know, when you on camera or you're talking to the computer screen or you've seen yourself, you tend to look at yourself, then you tend to look at the person on the screen, and then you sort of get carried away and you forget that you have to look at the camera.
Well,
So
you just gotta focus, and you just gotta
yes,
trust that it's working and that people are listening and they're getting the message that you're saying. And it's those little voices in our head that says I can or I can't, or I got to scratch my eye. You don't want to scratch your eye. You don't want to scratch your hair. You don't want to
yes,
touch your face. It's just being completely, totally present and
yes.
letting those go ahead.
And it's like it's so much so as though you're talking to people, so when you are talking to someone in person and you make eye contact, then the person knows that you are fully engaged, opposed to like looking down, fiddling with something, being distracting others, and that's the sort of thing. So if you're looking directly at someone and you're talking to them, that's when the person knows that you are now engaged and you're focusing and you're paying attention to what they're saying. So
Right.
yes, it's very similar. But thank you for that piece of advice. We're running out of time. Rosalyn, just very quickly, tell me a little bit about your TV show. And then I also want to know what's your message for 2024? We're already a month after Christmas. Can you believe it? It's the 25th
I
of
know it's amazing,
January.
was no sooner was Christmas over than they had, January, the New Year's, and it's Valentine's, and they've already got the St. Patrick's Day things hanging on the shelves at the store. So life is in the commercialized world. So yes, I do have a TV show. It's been up for several years. It's called Chow Entertainment. We have a huge Filipino um, body of people who follow us, but we have other different people from around the world. We have a magazine that we've come out, which is called Jollywood, and it's featuring different organizations and different businesses and how they're changing and making the world a better place. I've interviewed so many different people um, that it just baffles me. Working with the presidential candidate, Robbie Wells, who's running for president, who sees there's a place for a different way. And it's just been really exciting. You can follow me on YouTube. Just look for the name Rosalyn Kahn. You can see versions of that show. I've also done a short on Facebook, which was of a gentleman at a sound lab, and he was singing a song for veterans because I had a veterans book that was up and coming, and it got over 2 million people who'd gone ahead and followed that. So we never know what the world is looking for. 2024 is a year where you got to stick to your principles. What are the things that really matter to you? Don't take the setbacks as an, oh my gosh, but look at them as an opportunity. I know I had a great award that I'd received for teaching, of being a phenomenal teacher, getting an award from the Los Angeles Business Journal. And that was so exciting. At the end of the year, there was a new opportunity. And, I said, what am I going to do? And I remember when I left the kids many years ago, I said, I'd be back. And so I just followed that little voice. And so follow that voice of intuition, stick to the things that are really important to you. And that's my message. And be strong and love yourself for who you are. And don't worry about what the rest of the world thinks of you, because you're your own best person.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Rosalyn Kahn from Los Angeles, USA, coming to us on the Red Corner Show. So much to take away from this conversation today. And if you have a story to share with us, please drop me an email on redcornershow@gmail.com. And you too could be sharing like Rosalyn. Rosalyn, thank you so much. You always an amazing guest on the show. And I love chatting to you. I wish I could chat to you longer, but I think we can take that offline. Your last words.
My last words, you can follow me on all social media. It's just rosalinkahn.com and LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and everything. And the next thing is make sure that you take time for you. take time out for yourself to value and enjoy the things that you do. Whatever it might be, you're important. If you don't take care of yourself, then you're no good to the rest of the world. And so that's my message, my final message for today.
Absolutely love it, Rosalyn. Thank you so much. Words of inspiration. And that's how we're going to end the show today. Thank you so much. All the best, and just keep on keeping on. We'll chat to you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.